I'll explain what I have done. I mean the coding part. I have two activities. One activity which is the main activity as we know already, which contains view pager. So that's the first screen. Is that? So this one. So we already know about how to add this, and of course the way it works we already know. Second one, after user logs in, as if it takes to another activity. That activity is actually called what is that? SMSReplier activity. This activity is a host activity for various fragments. It's going to be the host for all the fragments which we are going to add. So this activity contains a navigation drawer. So navigation drawer, as we know, we go to activity SMSReplier. It is a wrapper called drawer layout. The drawer layout is allowed to have a frame layout and couple of navigation drawer layouts, maybe possibly two, not more than that. So this frame layout is a placeholder where we are going to attach various fragments. The second one, the drawer layout, which will be shown as user swipe from the extreme left or right, in this case left, and it can also be synced with the action bar hamburger menu. So user can click on it and bring it to a view, or still close it using the toggling between the hamburger menu clicks. Or he can extreme left, he can swipe, simply bring it on and see that. So this option we have created using drawer layout, which are the procedures you already know, which I have added at this point. So drawer layout in this case contains a linear layout inside. That linear layout is a host of all, for example, images, text views, and the list view. All the thing is being placed inside this particular linear layout. If you want, I can show that. But I kept it as a separate XML file. So for maintainability, if you notice, this is what being shown as user swipe from the extreme left. It contains an image view and a text view and the list view, and properly organized, and various color schemes have been given. And I created as a separate layout so that I can see a preview anytime. So okay, this is what I'm going to show when the user swipe from the left, and I have integrated that as a include, like any layout, any XML file can be included in this way. The only thing, you need to have a set of width and height parameter here also given, no matter whatever width and height given in the main parent layout here. So this you need to give it, and you can include other external XML file like this. So this is a pretty obvious one because it helps me to keep the code clean and doesn't blow up the code, and I can easily maintain and manage them. And there is no point of having an ID for the include layout, because layout is just nothing but a placeholder where some layout has come. So the ID is going to be taken directly from this point. So this is the linear layout, the host of the drawer, and it would be required to open and close the drawer layout. It's pretty much things that we have already done and we have discussed a lot. And Android Studio is pretty good to give a small preview of the images, whatever you add, the color system which it puts at the extreme, left of your document. And this list we have used a simple adapter to attach a view and a data. The data is hard-coded data still, because I have a fixed amount of menu systems, and it has an icon and along with the text. I need to have it as a constant, but I rushed it, so I just kept them as a hard-coded strings. Now we are going to create a fragment which I have already left, kept it ready. SMS list fragment and the compose fragment. So one is going to be used for composing an SMS, another one is going to display the list of messages being composed by the fragment. So by default, this one is going to be shown. The fragment SMS list is the one be shown. It has a text view. This is what we don't want. This one. We're going to keep some different layout for this. So let me design. It's kind of frame layout. I don't want the frame layout. Prefer a relative layout. With the height. Okay, this is, since the fragment is going to be loaded dynamically, I don't think the back and forth button would be available, because the back button right now replaced by the hamburger menu for an action bar. I may need to have some sort of back or close button for a fragment to self-manage which fragment to show. So I'm going to create a kind of a UI. Let me see how I can do. Anything which is already available. This one I like actually. You keep that. It's obviously not green because background color is missing. Just box. This icon will keep something. Maybe I'm going to replace it with a back button. Text. So we'll also give option to user to compose from there itself. This one I'm going to keep a title. So between them. We'll keep a list view beneath to this. I need an ID because I'm using a relative layout. True, it's always been true, and a list view. one header. So this is what we are going to display, this list of messages, and the compose will take the user to a compose screen. There he can compose the message, and this is where you're going to see the message list of messages. So this is maybe this elevation stuff. We'll put a white background to show it properly. Margin. Slightly. Just look some sort of things organized. I think 20. Okay, I don't think. The other bottom margin will be taken by this history itself, so that it won't confuse. Okay. We're going to need another layout for compose the message. I want to keep the same style, but I cannot include it because it's going to have a different title. This time the text is going to be, sorry, this one. Okay, the ID doesn't matter. So here we are going to compose the SMS. Let's add maybe edit text in the button will do. Parent. Slightly larger one. ID. going to be below to the header, and we are going to need a background. How it looks. This big compose box, we'll better keep it on the top here. So let the user compose a message here. He can type. We'll keep a button at the bottom. You have to keep the similar look and feel across all the pages if required. So save. We're going to keep it. Okay, I'll do one thing. Keep it at the bottom. Sandwich. Looks fine, and necessary margins are there. Left, right, top. We take it. Bottom will be taken like this. Bottom true has been set. Fragment has been set. Match bar and below. Track content. Okay, some more better. So this is for composing the message. So 2 fragments, we kept it ready. We're going to load them. So in this activity, I'm going to load various fragments whenever required as user click on various links, but the default fragment is going to be the list, which is going to display the SMS list fragment. So this is what going to be displayed. I had to extend the code here, but before I'll have the fragment ready, loaded in this activity. So I'm going to need a fragment transaction so that I can do a transaction with that, and there is already a frame layout so where the fragments could be loaded. So I want to see what's the ID I have given. It's called fragment holder. Maybe at the end I'll start loading them. Fragment manager support package. Fragment transaction, that's also from the support package. Begin the transaction. Okay, this fragment transaction may be required globally because using the fragment we are going to do various transactions or add, replace various fragments. The default fragment should be added. I'll use a replace because I'm going to replace the fragments quite often. .id.fragment holder, and the fragment which I'm going to load, it's called SMS list fragment. I want to keep this as a global because I may be reloading wherever required, so every time I don't need to initialize it. If required, we'll do it. Let's see. And fragment transaction count. Okay, I think I need. Okay, list is empty. Of course, we had to add a list here. So it is ready to display the contents here, but there is no item. So let the user click on compose either, or he can go to a navigation drawer and add a compose. What's that? This one. Here also he can click and go compose. Otherwise he can click here to compose. So whatever way he can do and have the message compose. Now I need to take the user to another screen. There he can compose, but before that I'll initialize these fragments because it has a button and it's going to have a list view and it's going to have a various click list click option. So if the list item is clicked, it will automatically go to edit the particular item. Plus we're also going to give a delete option. So there are various things we are going to do here. So we need to initialize these guys. Before that I'll have the other one also connected. So this is where the SMS list fragment present. Now I need to initialize this one. This is the default one. We have to initialize the inflated view, which is called view. the same one. We have a button and a list view. So first one is called button compose. Okay, the name I gave, I remember it's just a compose itself. And the list view. And return the view group at the end. So we have a button click and a list view. So button click, we know on click listeners. Sorry, events. So whenever the button gets clicked, it's going to execute this method. Now, the same thing I need to do for the compose part also. There also there is a button called back button and save button. There is two buttons exist. So I need to do the same step. Then think about communicating each other. First, let us have them initialized. The name I gave is back. Save. And one edit text also we have. Text compose. Let's say make it box. Compose field. If you have them initialized, and the back button, save button, I need to add a event listener. Since two buttons present, we may need a control block. Everything present. Now just initialize the objects and which is ready for listening events if it is a button. But a requirement, if you look at it, by default this fragment is loaded with the compose screen. There is no message. When I click on this compose button of a fragment, one of a fragment called SMS list fragment, it should load another fragment. So how do I going to do it? So I need to communicate to my host activity, tell that replace fragment with another fragment, which is going to be a compose one. And it is advisable to inform everything to host activity, not directly calling it, because we already decided this fragment does not need to know which activity where it is being implemented. There are one of a fragment which is already there for us, a register fragment, which I may still use it in this activity as well. So I'm going to need some sort of interface to give be as a bridge between the fragments as well as the host activity to do a callback between them. So let me create this utility stuff. We'll keep it here. P option new. Okay, just a class. I want it as an interface. I'll make it as a fragment connector. Some name. Various abstract methods going to find a place here. Going to make a change fragment. Sorry. Just I will give a generic name. Get callback from fragment some name. I like to decide like what are all the thing I'm going to add it. So as of now, I just keep a simple interface, one abstract method. This method is going to bring going to be a bridge between the host activity and the fragment. You'll see it how. Now this is the host activity, SMSReplier activity. This is where all the fragments are going to be loaded. I'm going to implement that one fragment connector. As I put, it is giving me some sort of error. Don't give me option at all. Okay, yeah. Implement the abstract method. That's ready. It's been implemented. Now, when the user click on the compose button, I need to tell the host activity to load another fragment which is going to display the compose message. So I'm going to need a couple of tricks. Fragment connector, just declaring them. This fragment connector would have been implemented in a host activity, so we'll have to see on attach activity because that's where I'm getting instance of the host activity. Contains an instance of fragment connector if it contains. If the host activity contains the instance of fragment connector, of course it is because we have already implemented over there. Now the fragment connector will be taken from the so the interface which is there at the activity end, which is getting initialized by verifying a non-attached state itself if the particular fragment has been implemented over there or not. Okay. Get callback from a fragment. Or maybe add some sort of argument if required, but anytime when the user click on it, it is going to execute a method in a host activity. So here I'm going to load another fragment. I'll keep it the fragment name fragment. When initialized, oh sorry, fragment transaction. I need to see that whether how it goes on. Okay, the error expected because I wanted test. I wanted to avoid uh, using the fragment, what do you call, manager. I wrongly made the fragment transaction as a global object, but actually the fragment manager should be a global object. This could be a transaction, could be a local object itself. Need a begin transaction permission so that it can do the transaction. Okay, so now I got the other fragment is also loaded back to implement. So from this fragment, the another fragment which we managed to load using a interface called get callback from a fragment, but it's pretty generic as of now. Few thing I wanted to do still. If I hit back at this point, what happens? It entirely closes my application. To avoid that, because we are already loaded another view. So, fragment transaction. Add to backstack. I can give a name. The same name I'll give. If you add this to a backstack, what would really happen? See that? decompose. When I click back, if you notice, it loads the previous fragment. It doesn't close it, so it maintains a history. So the fragments could be also referenced as if a normal activity, like hitting back will load the previous activity like that. The hitting back can also be made as if the previous fragment can also be loaded. So user can use the back button to move between them. So the back button we have to do it, but this back is going to clear the backstack. That we are going to do it in a minute. Now we are going to do a slightly complex approach. The back button I'll make it, but before that we'll have to standardize our code. See this kind of a string I'm using directly here, kind of a hard-coded string that I wanted to avoid. So let me create constants. I already have a place where I declare various constants. Any name to identify. So let us move on these guys to a standard one. We always prefer them to be as a constants wherever required. Keys, I mean the hash map key, I always want to have it declared as a constant to standardize. We'll avoid a lot of typos if it grows. Text. Done. And here also. Okay, so done. Now here it will be better to have which fragment I want to load. So I'm going to slightly modify my interface. So which fragment I want to load. Since I modified, it should be throwing error already. This was fragment. So who is calling this fragment? So I'll identify who's calling this. So in my case, the callback actually received from a fragment called SMS list fragment. Any attempt to click it, which I'm going to load the another fragment. But there also one button called back. So this is actually here. Same procedure I need to do. This is to avoid whether the fragment contains an instance of fragment connector. If not, it won't throw any error. We are just safely checking. This fragment the back button. Now this time the SMS compose fragment is actually calling the callback method. Okay. Attach. There should be option to clear backstack. Let me find it. Attach, UT, replace. Okay, okay, instead of removing I can still add it because it's already a replace one. I don't want to add it to a backstack. It's not confuse me still. Got it. So the user can move between them. So compose, and of course you can type something like, I think we need to add one more text for title. So once you click save, let it goes to a previous activity, sorry, previous fragment, and displays the particular list added over here. So this is what we are going to do, and of course there are plenty of things we need to do before. Margin as actually, yeah, here it is. So the next part you would have to extend it, because I have already included my uh, what you call database. So the database already can take all the details of your compose message, title and all stuff. So only the fragments now added. So let the user compose a message and click on save. The title I should add it here, so that particular list appears over here. So this part we have to do it in the next hands-on session, maybe tomorrow. So today what we have done, just we added two fragments, self-contained fragments, because each fragment has its own view and own buttons, and it has its own event listeners. But in this case, one fragment has to communicate to another fragment. So we decided to route the control through the host activity. So any fragment just inform its intention, or not intention in this point, because intention will throw unnecessary meaning of intent. So it simply handovers the control to a host activity. Host activity based on the control flow, like in this case we had if else block. The host activity sees who's calling, and in that case, so SMS list fragment is called. It is trying to load the SMS compose fragment, and another one is actually the uh, just trying to take it back, like the previous fragment is loaded. I really want to do it using the backstack. Let me see, that would be an easiest one. No fragment is there. This may not be the right one. Okay, I'll come back to that, how to clear the stack. There is an easy option, I forgot it maybe. I'll probably explain in the next videos, because this is slightly not the good approach, because the backstack itself, if you try to go back, I could still get back my the previous active fragment. But this approach also not bad, because this approach helps me to refresh the SMS list fragment. For example, any newer content added, it could easily refresh itself. So both the case, it has its own advantage as well as the disadvantage. So this part probably I'll attend it a little later. So I want you to complete up to this part. A couple of times just get stuck. So we need to see what exactly is the issue, because the backstack would have been wrongly added, so it takes a longer time to get dismissed itself. So we'll have to have some sort of workaround to clear them, and the stack should be maintained in a proper way. So we'll see. So I'll put the source code. You have a session around so 2 to 5, 2 to 5 or 5:30? 5:30. You have a half an hour if you have a time. Do this. Otherwise, morning, of course, that before the break time, you can still complete some part of it. Rest I'll still attend and take the particular code extended. So next part, we need to attach them to a database, and we need to maintain some sort of backstack should be cleared properly, and something is not very clear or very good here. So backstack management we have to do it, and of course the control flow between the activity, host activity and the fragment, that we need to study a little better. So this part we will do it in the tomorrow session. Parallelly, I will also start adding the broadcast receiver and the service which can intercept the SMS. This is pretty simple line of code. It won't involve this much kind of complication to manage the view. So once we done that, once we complete that, of course, we'll be having our app working for the specific purpose, which can listen the incoming SMS and the call. So it could obviously send a reply back to the specific number as well. So after that part would be quite simple. So only thing we have to understand how the fragments being managed across the stack. Okay.